Well, good morning. Hello, everyone. May not be morning where you're at when you're watching this, but that's okay. I'm glad you're here because we're going to talk about Purim. And the coming month is Adar. So, right? Adar? Gosh, is it already? Goodness, I can't even believe. Yep, Adar, Tuesday. And Purim is during the month of Adar. So we're going to talk about Purim today. Oh, Father, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for you. I just praise you. Father, you are such a good father, such a good daddy to all of us. How you take care of us, how you show us your truth and show us how to live. And I thank you for the truths that come in your word and in the history, your story of the feasts and the festivals and how we get to live them out in our day, Father, in our day. What does it mean? What do these things mean? And I thank you and I praise you for what you've brought to me to share. I pray it is a blessing to each woman here, each family, because we know that it goes into each family that will listen to this later, because it's about our legacy, just as it was for Esther and Purim. And so I thank you for that. And I bless you. I praise you. May the words that are spoken be of you, and anything that would not, Father, just cause it not to be said, cause it to not be taken in if there's something that's not meant for a particular person, for a particular family. Father, we want this all to glorify you. So we praise you and thank you for today, the beautiful day that it is that we get to learn and grow in you. It's in Yeshua's name. Amen. Okay, so welcome, Cindy. Welcome, Kimberly. I'm glad you're here. And Purim. So I've titled this Becoming You, because that is one of the things that we're all striving for, right? We want to become who the Father says we are. And how do we do that? Through the stories that He's given us in the Bible. How do we do that? So, becoming us, becoming who we are in Him. So, I'm going to ask a question, and feel free to unmute and answer because I've got a few of them. So, keeping in the back of our mind Purim and Esther, when were you taken captive? Did you scream? Did you fight? Did you go into yourself and shut the world out? Those are all things that are so easy to do, right? Or did you rise above the circumstances, finding the true kingdom that you were called to and where you were meant to live in? And really, what kingdom were you born into as well? Those are some tough questions, right? Especially the first one. Were you taken captive? When were you taken captive? So Esther, we see, was taken from one kingdom and brought to another. Or was she? At first glance, we might think she was. But what if we reframe our thinking? Okay. What if we reframe that? And as I share about this, think about it for yourself. So she was born into the Father's kingdom first, then tragically taken, right, into the heathen kingdom, because we all know that King Xerxes was a heathen, right? A person that just was not perhaps living for the Father, for the Lord, right? So, yeah. But what if Abba was simply bringing his kingdom into the places that are in need of him? We know now that that was the case for sure because we can read his story, and know that because we have the word, we have what we can grow from. So, why do I think that's the case, that perhaps she was born in his kingdom? Well, because Esther was born to Abihail, which literally means father is might or father is strength. This is the kingdom that Esther was born into, a mighty godly kingdom. So, where in the word is our father spoken of as a father of might? Well, Isaiah 9:6. For a child will be born unto us, a son will be given to us, and the government will rest on his shoulders, and his name will be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Eternal Father, Prince of Peace. Mighty God. Mighty God. So, what about the Father of Strength? That aspect of the name, where do we find that in scriptures? Well, oh my, there are tons of scriptures. God is our strength, Psalm 28:8. The Lord is our strength, and he is a saving defense to his anointed, Psalm 37:39. But the salvation of the righteous is from the Lord. He is their strength in times of trouble. Exodus 15:2. The Lord is my strength and my song, and he has become my salvation. This is my God, and I will praise him, my father's God, and I will extol him. And then Psalm 28:7. The Lord is my strength and my shield. My heart trusts in him, and I am helped. Therefore, my heart exalts, and with my song I shall thank him. And the list goes on. I mean, I may copy this and put it in the comments just so you have those scriptures to know that he is your strength. And then the one that we love, right? Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through God who strengthens me. He is our strength. So what's cool is Esther didn't become angry about this. At least we don't read that in the scriptures. She didn't become, anger leads to bitterness, right? And we don't read that in the scriptures. Instead, what do we read? She met that challenge of being taken with requesting what the king would want and found favor. Esther 2:15. Now when the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had been taken as his daughter, came into the kingdom, she did not request anything except what Haggai, the king's eunuch, who was in charge of all the women, advised. And Esther found favor in the eyes of all who saw her. So to me, this is not only showing the strength of knowing who she was, but a desire to serve the king of the kingdom she was born into. Because remember who her daddy was, and his name means God of strength. And what was the other one?
Might.
Might. Yes, might. So do you think you're born into that kingdom? I think so. I think so. So she desired to serve her king, the King of Kings, and all that he wanted. Now, I'm sure she's a woman, just like we are, that the journey probably wasn't totally enjoyable, right? There were times that she missed what was. Does that make us think of anything? But in the midst of the captivity, she found the steps to take to move forward and bring salvation to her people and the people she lived among. Wow. So, in seeing the journey from God's perspective, she saw his glory being unveiled. Wow. So, if we put ourselves in that, what if we were born into his kingdom first? And I believe each and every one of us here was, and then the world and all that that brings. But, not even but. I don't like that. Except it's fitting. But Abba, like, wow. So, what was hidden behind the veil? Can anybody guess? All right, I'll let you know. Life. Life was behind that veil. And then I began pondering, okay, why Purim? Why is Purim called Purim? Purim means lots. So I looked up lots, right? We all get to look it up. We love the Bible apps, the Bible, Blue Letter Bible. We get to look up words. So Goral, and I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but in Hebrew, from an unused root meaning to be rough as a stone, properly a pebble, a lot, a stone, small stones being used for the purpose of deciding, making decisions, a portion, what's the portion to be given or not? A lot. So Haman, boo. Haman drew lots to determine the day when the scheduled extermination of the Jews were. That was death. That was the kingdom she was brought into. Death, because he was an enemy of the Jews. Okay. But Esther, again, that word, but Esther, served the God of life. And so do we. Not only that, not only a friend of the Jews, but we are grafted into his family. Just like she was brought into the king's home and started a family. So the Day of Atonement is another day that's dedicated to the casting of lots. A day, they decide, is it which one is going to go? Which one's going to go out into the field? Which one's going to stay? All right. So a day to draw from it atonement for the past and resolve for the future. So can you see how this is exactly how or what Esther embodied? And that's where Purim comes from. Purim is a day of remembrance that also offers a day of connection in that Esther drew from her past and offered resolve for the future. And that we get to do that as well. All the things that we've experienced, all the things that we've been through, we draw from that past. And we get to choose. What do we do for the future? Haman's plot was to exterminate the people of wisdom, but that backfired. And when the enemy comes to exterminate you, what will you do? I've got some suggestions. Do y'all want them? I think that's probably why you're here. So the first one would be put on your armor, right? Put on your armor. Pray. Ask the Father to help get us dressed. Pray. Proclaim his word. Proclaim it in your life because That is truth for not only Esther, but for you. And clear any wrong thinking. Like, let's sweep that house clean because the wicked lamp does not need to be anywhere around us. Clear any wrong thinking. Yes. Now, nard represents sin nature or an unpleasant nature. But when we fill the area with the Ruach, and there are so many scriptures about being filled with his Holy Spirit. I mean, we could name them, we could all find scriptures, right? And so when we fill ourselves, the area, our temple with the Ruach, we're practicing the true appreciation for the kingdom you were born into. So perhaps the first thing to do with that is to address any ingratitude in our hearts. I've had to really look at how is my heart? Do I have ingratitude for the things I've been through and want to go, but why? Yes, I have. I have, and I'm sure probably all of us here has done that before. But why? I've got so many questions. Why this? Why that? But realizing when there's ungratefulness, there's usually blame or anger. And we know from my prior teachings what that anger can lead to. Anger settles in our liver, and that's a whole gamut of things. So we don't want to blame and hold anger in our heart. So maybe we need some encouragement in our soul with surrendering and accepting life is exactly as it's supposed to be. And one way to fill our temple, another way is to use the tools. And one of those tools is using the essential oil of spikenard. Spikenard. And what is that about? It's about gratitude. And gratitude brings us joy, brings us happiness for the deeper meaning of life. When we get all that crud out, right? All that anger, bitterness out, if we do a liver cleanse, our body flows better. We are healthier physically. When we get rid of that ungratefulness, our body, our mind, our spirit flows better. And we get to experience the deeper meanings because Father opens it up to us. So letting go of resistance, anger, blame, gratitude is an expression of contentment. I mean, for a moment, we may not be content with the circumstances around us. It might be like, I'm ready to pull my hair out, or I'm having a memory and I'm not grateful for that experience. But instead of letting ungratefulness come in, allow gratefulness to come in because it was meant for a purpose, just like Esther being taken from one kingdom and brought into another. It was for his purpose. And she didn't express any, at least we're not told, any anger. Gratefulness is an expression of acceptance and abundance as well. Wow, what a thought. Acceptance and abundance. Like, if y'all have kids, you want every good and perfect gift for your child, right? We just want that. We're no different than our Father. So being content with what we have, when we watch our grandchildren who are all 5 and under, we have 6 right now, all 5 and under. We're going to have 2 more soon who will now put us at 8, 5 and under. You get to see that expression of ungratefulness a lot, lack of contentment with what they have. And so that's why this is about legacy, because teaching our children, how do we leave a legacy of gratefulness? Accepting challenges, it's a challenge if dinner's running late because we've been out because something happened or whatever. And oh, I didn't get the right ingredient at the store. Oh, dinner's late. There's just challenges sometimes. But being grateful for those challenges allows us to think a little more and go, okay, I'll learn that for next time. That was a lesson, Father. Thank you for that. I can do better next time. Or I can just change my attitude and accept the blessing that it is what it's supposed to be. And maybe we weren't supposed to have that, or whatever the case. So this assists us in transcending sorrows, bringing peace and harmony. And I know some people might get wigged out or cautious about that word transcendence, but during Hanukkah, I shared what that means. That means going higher. We get to go to the highest, and offer ourselves and all our stuff to Him. That's what it means to me. I'm not weirded out by words. I look them up, and I'm like, oh, what does that mean? So, and what does that do when we offer ourselves, right? It's an offering. Aroma is an offering. So when we use spikenard, that nard in the Bible, oh, Halisa's got some great teachings on nard. Well, ugh, it's stinky in its pure form. It can be stinky, and we may not like it. But if we offer it or put it with other scents, it makes it smell better. So we can choose what other scent we want to put with it. And one of them that I would put with it would be helichrysum. Helichrysum is an amazing healer of pain, both physically and emotionally. I can only say that from experience, my own experience, my husband's experience, people I know that have shared the same thing with me. It aids in not walking around wounded. We don't have to be wounded. So when we put on these oils or we diffuse them in the house, spikenard has a quality to help us feel grateful. And then put that with helichrysum or lime. Who doesn't love lime? I mean, lime is just fabulous. So lime is a zest for life. Maybe we've had circumstances where it's just gotten us down and we are over it. Has anybody been there? I have. But when we put the nard with something else, it brings it up. And I just find it interesting listening to Halisa, Dr. Alwine, talk about that Mary and Miriam, they poured out and they believe it was nard, spikenard, and the scent that it must have filled the room with, that's not a pleasant scent. It's actually, the way she says it is it evokes the other side. So I wonder if that was an oil, perhaps, that even, perhaps because they used fragrances during Esther's time. We know they used myrrh. But perhaps they had spikenard there, and maybe she, after inviting Haman and the king, maybe there was a scent there that caused him, and it's all about food and dining and fellowship. And I was like, wow. I mean, if you haven't listened to her teachings in the last uh, month and a half or so, they're really good. So I encourage you to do that. And yeah, try your spikenard. That's one that I don't think that I've talked about before, but it's such good qualities to help bring us that gratitude. Um, so we've got helichrysum. We could put it with lime. We could put it with ginger, and I've talked about ginger. Clove is another one. And so when you think about using these oils for our emotional side to help lift us up, to be able, the aroma is to float up, ascend. Oh, there's that transcending, ascend upward. They change the atmosphere. They're highly energetic, highly fragrant. And then when we put them on our body or in our body, they actually have that quality to help our body. So we might want to grab our spikenard, but go ahead and open the bottle and smell it and then decide what you want to put with it. And what I love to do is I will ask the Father, because he'll answer you, whether you know it or not, he will answer you. And if I have an assortment of oils sitting right there and I grab my spikenard because, I am just not being grateful right now. I am not happy about these circumstances I'm in. I need some more happiness, gratefulness in my life. I'll grab that and I'll ask, all right, what one should I put with it? And he'll tell me. And when I go and I read about what that other oil is and what it does, the attributes for the emotions, or perhaps it's something that I'm dealing with physically, I'm like, well, of course. Well, of course. So, yeah, I hope that you enjoy, and you please make comments. Tell us what you think about spikenard, the nard. All right. And that is a wrap. Let's open it up to questions.